So I haven't done a video on the house of Ex Nihilo for almost 8 years now, but today I've got a video for you where I'm highlighting several of their fragrances in one video. So if you're a fan of this house, you should stick around. The fragrances are now sold at ZGO Perfumery here in San Francisco, and I've been waiting for somebody locally to bring this collection so I can actually study them, learn about them, and decide on what fragrances I enjoy the most. So I've got various fragrances here to talk to you about, some of my favorites from the house. ZGO Perfumery is also giving away a 10 milliliter traveler with any bottle purchases, and there's also a discount code that saves you 10% off, which is Perfume Guy EXN. So find out all about Ex Nihilo fragrances coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Are you a fan of Ex Nihilo? Do let me know. Put a comment down below so I can find out. So it's interesting. I first discovered Ex Nihilo way back in around 2015, and I traveled to Paris quite frequently around the holidays, and it was around the holidays that I actually stumbled onto their store, and the previous holiday I was there, their store was not there. So I walked in to discover this brand new house. It's taken me some time to really dig into the house, and now it seems like they're getting out there quite a bit. They even have a physical store here in the States, but the fragrances are sold at ZGO Perfumery here in San Francisco. If you're local, you can visit to check them out. They do carry a pretty big collection of their fragrances, and also on the ZGO website you can order these and order samples as well. So if you do buy a bottle, there's a 10 ml traveler that comes with it for free, plus you can save 10% off with the code Perfume Guy EXN. I've got it all linked in the info box. So we're going to start off first off with the first fragrance from this house that I'm going to talk to you about, created by Quentin Bisch. This is French Affair, this one right here. So if you didn't know, the brand uses only Givaudan perfumers. So this is a firm that houses many different perfumers, and these perfumers in this house works with various brands, niche houses and things like that. And according to the brand, they only work with Givaudan perfumers. So this was actually really a great fragrance for me when I smelled it. It's a kind of a Chypre-esque, vetiver focused fragrance, but there is definitely a kind of a dusty, powdery accord or presence to the fragrance. And actually I should say it's kind of running throughout a lot of the fragrances as well. So the fragrances do come off a bit powdery and dusty to me. So this is featuring notes of vetiver, oakmoss, rose absolute, patchouli, Atlas cedarwood, Angelica, violet leaves, lychee fruit, and bergamot. So Quentin Bisch does some great fragrances, and you might kind of, when you smell this one, you might see his style in it. It doesn't remind me of anything else that he's done, because sometimes he does tend to overlap with some of his creations. But I really like this one as a great vetiver fragrance, because it's vetiver with loads of oak moss. There's some light hints of some rose that comes in. It's there, and I think it's this note that kind of creates a little bit of that Chypre quality, along with the patchouli that's in here as well. But as I said, it's quite dry and dusty. There's a dusty, powdery effect that happens when you're wearing it. Angelica also creates a bit of a vegetal touch. There's a bit of ozonic wateriness running throughout it, but I feel like the violet leaves are kind of covered up with so much dust in this fragrance that typically with violet leaves, you do get kind of a watery effect, and since this is so dry, it doesn't really do that for me. But it's such a great fragrance with a great name, French Affair, created by Quentin Bisch. Let's quickly smell this. Let me know if you're already a fan of French Affair. So when I smell this one, there's definitely a recognizable smell, as in the style, not necessarily the fragrance. It reminds me of a Chypre, but in a different way. The vetiver is quite smoky and earthy here, and there's some light leathery touches going throughout it as well. But it's really great. If you like vetiver in a bit of a classic way, but also very modern at the same time, you know, utilizing patchouli, rose, and things like that, this is definitely great. The vetiver is also quite spicy, and again, I should mention, this is very powdery, dusty, dry. There's aromatic touches as well, but a really great fragrance. So we're going to talk about two fragrances created by Quentin Bisch, but the first one is French Affair. Alright, the next fragrance we're going to talk about is Lust in Paradise, this one right here. This one's created by Louise Turner. perfumer at Givaudan. This is considered a woody floral fragrance, and it features notes of white peony, lychee fruit, musk, white cedarwood, pink pepper, and amber. Whereas the French Affair was very masculine leaning, this one does lean feminine, but it's a uber fresh fragrance. You know, if you like fragrances like Delina, this does have some similarities to me, but that one has that kind of creamy milkiness. This one is not. This one's more powdery and, as I said, dry like the other one, but not as dry as the other one because this doesn't get uber dry like that one. But it's a super delicious, fresh fragrance featuring the lychee fruit, very, very noticeable, and the white peony also here, that's quite noticeable. So in the end, the white peony has some rosy touches, and perhaps there is rose in here, they're not claiming it. And it's not like an uber intense rosiness, but it's basically whatever rosiness you get from peonies, because I do get some similar like rosy touches from that flower. I get them here as well, but it's uber musky, and then it has this very airy ethereal quality. So I think this fragrance is probably better to be used when it's warm outside because it does have a very fresh, you know, characteristic about it. But eventually it has like very woody dry down with some spices and some amber as well, because there's definitely a pink pepper note in here. And I think also pink pepper does have some light rosiness. It does kind of contribute to creating this kind of like a rosy quality, but it's more about the peony and the pink pepper working together. So again, as I said, this does have a bit of a Delina-esque quality because, you know, Delina was created by Quentin Bisch. He's a part of Givaudan. This is a company or a brand that uses Givaudan perfumers, so they might be using the similar kind of notes or ingredients, especially for the fact that the white peony in Lust in Paradise, there's a peony note in Delina as well. So I think you're going to like this one if you do like it. This might actually be a little closer to Delina La Rosée because it's definitely missing that kind of creamy characteristic that the Delina has, but it's very, very fresh, maybe a bit tropical as well with this one. But lots of musk, major floral touches, major fruitiness as well. There's sweetness, there's freshness here, a bit creamy under there, and maybe a bit tropical because that lychee fruit does have tropical touches. But let's go ahead and quickly smell. But let me know if you're a fan of Lust in Paradise. I'd like to find out. It's really, really quite delicious. It's the fruits in here and the flowers are so realistic smelling. They do transport me to a little bit of a tropical place, but more breezy and not necessarily hot and humid, because this fragrance doesn't have that kind of hot characteristic like some fragrances can have. It has the light tropical touches, but we're not in like really hot humid temps when I'm wearing this fragrance. But really great. I really like that one. I know it leans feminine, but I like wearing this one. But I think this is, like I said, suited for really warm days because it's got that very refreshing quality. So, Lust in Paradise. Alright, next we've got a woody spicy fragrance created by Jordi Fernandez. This is the Hedonist, this one right here. With Akigala wood. This is a proprietary ingredient from Givaudan, which is basically like cleaned up patchouli from what I've read, with bergamot, ginger, vetiver, musks, tonka beans. So when I first smelled this fragrance, I thought to myself, boy, that's kind of a fragrance that reminds me of Bulgari's Tigar. Yes, it does remind me of Bulgari's Tigar. Yes, it also reminds me of Sospiro's Vibrato, but this is different in that, once again, it's that powdery quality. These three fragrances definitely have that kind of dusty, powdery DNA that this brand has to me. Not all of them. I'm going to talk to you about some that don't have it, but the first three do, with Lust in Paradise the least between the first three. But the Hedonist, just like French Affair, does have a very dryness about it. The notes are kind of sort of similar and not, but the Akigala wood is, like I said, patchouli-esque note, but it's acting a bit like ambroxan, which Tigar has in the notes. And I'm a big fan of Tigar, so it's a given I really would like the Hedonist. I think they're similar ideas, reminds you of one another, but in the end they're different when you're wearing them. But the Akigala wood is very, very prominent here. It's got the earthiness, but it's super clean patchouli. It's very juicy with the bergamot, and of course the ginger adds the zing and the spice. And for me, I feel like there's vetiver here in the Hedonist, vetiver in the French affair as well. I think it's the vetiver that's creating this kind of dusty, dried, dusty characteristic. There's a grassiness about it, but it's all dried. And I feel like the vetiver in the Hedonist is also similar to the vetiver in French affair. But this one definitely kind of leans masculine as well, but not as much as the French affair to me. Because there's something dark about French affair that's not here. This is a lot brighter because it has the juicy bergamot and that zingy, spicy ginger as well. Really great stuff. If you don't know this and you're a fan of Tiger, definitely get your nose on it. I think you're going to like it. And I've been seeing a lot of Jordi Fernandez's fragrances come up lately. I've been talking about him in various different videos as his name comes up. But let's quickly smell this one. Yeah, the vetiver is there. It's nicely blended with the Akigala wood. It's not a great combination of patchouli. In this case, it's Akigala wood and vetiver. Kind of sort of might remind you of something like Javoy's Incident Diplomatique, but in a different way because it's the patchouli vetiver combo. This one also has that zing and spice from the ginger. I like that contrast and very juicy bergamot, but comes off dry because, as I said, the fragrance is dry. There's definitely musks added here as well, but this is really, really great. If it does lean masculine, but not as masculine as the French affair, but a solid release from Ex Nihilo. So this is the Hedonist from Ex Nihilo. Let me know if you're a fan of that one. So up next, it is a fragrance called Viper Green. This one right here. The one that I've used quite a bit of, that I'm obsessed with, really love. So this is galbanum come alive in a fresh form. So they have galbanum here, which creates all the greenness, but it's meshed with a lot of juicy citruses and other, fresher notes. But this is considered a woody green fragrance, and it's created by Nadège Le Garlantezec. Is that how you say it? I'm butchering the name probably, but featuring notes of galbanum with vetiver, green mandarin, jasmine sambac, angelica, iris absolute, rosy folia, patchouli, and a powdery accord. Yeah, it does have powdery touches, but I feel like this one is not as powdery as the three other fragrances that I spoke to you about. Maybe it's closer to how powdery it is to the Lust in Paradise. But this is a fresh take on galbanum, because galbanum can get very, very super green and also super bitter. But here it's done really well where you can wear this green fragrance, but it's uber fresh. Galbanum and vetiver together beautifully. There's also the angelica here, sort of green and powdery and vegetal as well. But you've got lots of juicy green mandarin here and patchouli, powdery notes, and some floral touches of the jasmine. This is a great fragrance. If you're a fan of galbanum, you've got to get your nose on this one, but just keep in mind it's more fresh. It's a very fresh take on galbanum, and I feel like they've stripped away all the dirty greens that are in there when you normally wear galbanum, because I've seen people say they don't like the note because it can come off bitter, resinous like and things like that, and they're using the good stuff here. To me, it's a really nice take on a galbanum fragrance. So Viper Green is a great release. Really love that one. Let me go ahead and smell it for you as well. Yeah, if you like fragrances like Untitled by Maison Margiela, I mean, if you like fragrances like Chanel No. 19, not necessarily so feminine leaning here with the Viper Green, and also much fresher, then you're going to have to check out Viper Green, because it's that trademark note of galbanum that's here, that's also in those two fragrances. That is a highlight for that fragrance. So this next fragrance is probably the highlight of this house. Probably this is the fragrance that this house is known for. And it's a given that I think they've created multiple flankers of this one. And it's another fragrance that is created by Quentin Bisch. This is a fruity floral fragrance. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's FLEUR NARCOTIQUE, this one right here. This is another very popular fragrance, as I said, for this house and also in the world of niche perfumery. And so I can see why, because he's done a great job, or Quentin's done a great job creating this fragrance. Once again, we've got that peony note in here, very popular with this firm. And then also, Quentin Bisch uses quite a bit of it. He'd use it in Delina, because Delina is created by Quentin Bisch, and it's here as well. But this one has lychee fruit, orange blossom, musk, peaches, bergamot, jasmine, moss, transparent woods. So in the end, maybe it can be distantly related to Delina, because both of the fragrances have the lychee fruit and peony. But this one, you've got orange blossom, and orange blossom takes the fragrance into a different direction because Delina doesn't have it. But it's a great floral fragrance, I would call this a fruity floral, like I said earlier, with loads of fruits and flowers or floral notes, but there's lots of musk here and citruses as well. Eventually it becomes woody and also mossy in the dry down, but they're calling it transparent woods. The woods are there just to anchor the fragrance. It's kind of a light, I'm calling it maybe like a musky woody touch in the base because you've got musk and woods there as well. Definitely doesn't smell like woods, but it is woody in the base, if that makes sense to you guys. But this is definitely a great freshie. I've seen Quentin Bisch do various different fragrances kind of in this style. He's known for doing in this trademark of, you know, fragrances where he combines peony and lychee fruit, and sometimes he takes away a certain note and adds something else, and it's a given. It's so popular here with Ex Nihilo's Fleur Narcotique. He's going to kind of emulate his style and create other fragrances for other houses. But let me know if you're a fan of Fleur Narcotique. Let's go ahead and give it a quick sniff. This is got a bit of a tropical touch for me. It's the lychee fruit, and it's so fresh. Really, really beautiful fragrance. And once again, this one is a fresh take on a tropical fragrance. It doesn't have like deep, rich notes. It's not coming off dense and thick and heavy or a fragrance that will weigh you down. I think that would be perfect to wear in the heat when it's really hot outside because it's very fresh. It's refreshing. Fruity, floral, fun, playful, breezy, airy. I think definitely he's done a great job with Fleur Narcotique. So that's Fleur Narcotique from Ex Nihilo. So up next we've got another fragrance created by Nadège Le Garlantezec. I think that's how you say this name. Sorry if I'm butchering the name. This is an amber floral fragrance. This is VESPER GLITZ, this one right here. So VESPER GLITZ does have a bit of a familiarity about it to me. It does remind me of some other fragrances I've smelled, but it's here done in the way that Ex Nihilo fragrances are done. In the end, it's an amber floral to me, so it's got ambery notes along with loads of floral notes. There's some tropical floral notes as well, yellow floral and things like that. It's ylang ylang, mimosa, neroli, jasmine, mandarin orange, vanilla, tonka beans, musks, cedarwood, and pink pepper. So it's a great combination of these wonderful notes together. An amber floral is a great style, amber meaning most likely vanilla, and there's ambery notes as well. It could feature resins to create an amber accord, but here it's mostly the vanilla with the tonka beans that's doing this kind of an amber experience. But very, very fresh, very, very floral. The combination is delicious. It's a bit intoxicating with the smell, and you do experience the yellow floral touches of the mimosa and ylang ylang along with the jasmine and neroli here. It's super delicious fragrance. And yeah, it does remind me a little bit of some fragrances that are out there. Maybe it's an inspiration. Maybe it's, I don't know, the brand wanted something that's a bit familiar and easier accessible kind of rather than being extremely niche. But I really love the fragrance myself, so I actually brought that back from Paris earlier this year. So that's VESPER GLITZ. Let me go ahead and smell it on camera for you. Let me know if you're a fan of this one. Yep, it's very, very floral. I feel like it does get warmer as it's drying down, but up top it's definitely very, very floral. And the ylang ylang in here, I always mention this, there's definitely kind of a banana-esque vibe with ylang ylang as a note. The texture, I think it has a weird texture when you smell it, and it reminds me of the texture of bananas. Not necessarily too much in the smell itself, but more about the texture. But mimosa flower, really wonderful, has light almondy touches. The neroli, and the neroli in VESPER GLITZ reminds me of the neroli orange blossom and Fleur Narcotique. So there's definitely the similar notes, and also the DNA of this house. You can smell it in the more masculine offerings, you can smell it in the more feminine offerings, because VESPER GLITZ is definitely leaning on the feminine side. And it reminds me of some of the more like Fleur Narcotique and Lust in Paradise notes. But it is a really, really great fragrance. I do enjoy this one. So this is VESPER GLITZ right here. So we're talking about Citizen X next, this one right here. This is the one sole review of an Ex Nihilo fragrance I have on the channel. And prior to this, I did a video on sampling a lot of different samples of fragrances from Ex Nihilo, so you can go catch those videos, but they are older. So Citizen X was a review I did probably around 6 years ago, and it's a woody spicy fragrance created by Jan Vosnier. I think he's definitely a Givaudan perfumer. But this Citizen X has notes of mastic resin or mastic tree, iris absolute, incense, ambery woods, musk, and white pepper. So there's definitely the idea of white that runs throughout this fragrance, and also a bit of smoke. It's very, very resinous, but in a kind of a pure white way. It's mastic resin, and the wearing of this has this kind of like a white powder effect when you're wearing it. Mastic resin is this very unique resin that's used in Middle Eastern cooking. You can eat it, and also obviously they're using it in perfume here. But it's very, very powdery. Once again, the iris absolute is heavy, and the incense also contributes to some powderiness as well. And along the way, there's some light spice. In this case, they're saying white pepper. It's there, and I feel like it's contributing the pepperiness and helping the pepperiness of the mastic as well, because I think the mastic resin itself has a bit of pepperiness as well. In the end, it's spicy, resinous, definitely has a white quality about it. You'll notice it, powdery, kind of resinous, white, incensey kind of a thing, but very, very woody in the dry down as well. Let me know if you're a fan of this one. Not a lot of people talk about that, but I have reviewed it on the channel, and again, as I said, about 6 years ago. This is one of the older releases out of this bunch, I think. And as you can see, the bottle is kind of low. Definitely some spice there for sure. And I think we're getting the spice from the mastic resin and also the white pepper. And I feel like the incense also contributes to some spiciness, because I always mistake incense to black pepper and so on. But, you know, we've got the white pepper, and it is not necessarily as super strong as black pepper would be here. But definitely very, very mastic resin forward fragrance. Definitely it's prominent here, and also very, very powdery. There's a bit of a savory edge about it, with some light sweetness under there, and probably we're getting that sweetness from the ambery woods, because there's definitely a woody characteristic here. One other thing I should say, it does remind me a little bit of church, but in more of a refined way, because incense in general can be a bit strong and overwhelming. Here it's a bit more angelic and pure. I don't know why I get white from that one. I don't know, maybe it's some subconscious, because mastic resin is white, but there's something white about that fragrance and the way it wears and things like that. Anyway, that's the last fragrance I'm talking about. It's Citizen X from the house of Ex Nihilo. And that's pretty much it for you today on this video. Let me know your thoughts on Ex Nihilo fragrances. Have you discovered this house? Have you been to ZGO Perfumery? They have the collection there. You can go smell them there and then find out, you know, about the fragrances yourself if you like them or not. Or there's a link in the info box, as I said, and there's a gift with purchase and also a discount code. You can check that out in the info box. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Alright guys, there's one more bonus option I'm putting here. I don't think this is available anymore. I think it was a limited edition that I bought last year when I was in Paris. It was there when I was in June, hot and humid in the city, and I walked into the Ex Nihilo boutique and instantly fell in love with this very fresh and fruity floral tropical fragrance called In Paradise Riviera. So this is a floral fragrance created by Louise Turner once again, and it features peony, tiare flower, tuberose, bergamot, musk, cashmere. It smells great in humidity, it smells great in heat, and I just really fell in love with it, and I like the idea of this really beautiful tropical but fresh floral fragrance. Let's go ahead and quickly smell it. One thing I did not tell you guys about, all of the fragrances of Ex Nihilo's has the blue, the characteristic of this house. They have the blue theme going for them, and all of the caps inside have that blue. But in this case, this particular fragrance also has an R on top, as you can see. Very, very fun. But this is definitely more tropical, because that tiare flower adds definitely a tropical edge to the fragrance. In the other fragrances where I mentioned they were tropical, they were not as tropical as this one, because this has that tiare flower. To me, lychee fruit has a bit of tropical edge to it, but when you throw in tiare flower, it really goes to a tropical floral direction. But really wonderful fragrance, really great, freshy, Very, very floral and breezy, summery, and fruity as well, because there's definitely some fruitiness here. I don't know where I'm getting it from, but they have a fruity characteristic. But a wonderful fragrance. This is Paradise, In Paradise Riviera. Let me know if you guys have smelled that one. I don't think it's available anymore unless they bring it back. Who knows?